Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Rama Rama. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dandavat. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Please chant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Samyukta Mataji, Venermade. Thank you so much for waiting. You joined clearly. Thank you so much. I was looking for some other devotees to join. Thank you again. Sapan Kumar Prabhu, thank you very much. Sunil Prabhu, thank you very much. Pallavi Mataji, thank you very much. So let us begin with Mangala Charana prayers. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukhaṁ karoti vācālam pangum langayate girim yatkrupa tamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Meshwaram. Om apavitra pavitro va sarvavastam gatopi va yasmaret pundari kaksham sabhyabhyantaram suchihi. Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu. Yeah, I'm just sharing. Yeah. Sorry, couldn't connect on Monday. I was a little bit busy here. So let us read from this paragraph. Okay, again. Let us read. Yeah, Vendel Mataji, can you please begin?
This atheistic or godless civilization is a huge affair contrived for the gratification of our senses, and now we are all mad after money in order to maintain this empty shell. Money is sought after by everyone because that is the medium of exchange for objects of for sense gratification. Obviously, the exception of peace in such an atmosphere of gold rush pandemonium is a utopian dream. As long as there is a slightest tinge of sense gratification or desire for sense gratification, peace will remain far away. This is because by nature we are all eternal servants of the Supreme Lord and therefore cannot enjoy anything for our personal interests. It is therefore necessary for us to learn how to employ our senses in the transcendental service of the Lord and to utilize everything to serve His interest. This alone can bring about much desired peace. A part of the body cannot in itself be independently happy. It can only derive its happiness and pleasure out of serving the entire body. The Supreme Lord is the whole, and we are all parts, but we are all busily engaged in activities of self-interest. No one is prepared to serve the Lord. This is the basic cause for our conditioning in material existence and for our resultant unhappiness. From the highest executive in his sorry, should I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, please continue.
From the highest executive in his skyscraper office down to the coolie on the street, we are all working with the thought of accumulating wealth legally or illegally. Actually, it is illegal for to work for one's self-interest is both unlawful and destructive. Even the cultivation of spiritual realization for one's own self-interest is unlawful and destructive. The point is that all activities must be directed to the satisfaction of Krishna and his service. Harish.
You can read, Mataji. You can read some. Yes.
Those who are not engaged in transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord wrongfully think that they are accumulating so much money day after day. Asa pasa sater baddha kama krodha parayanaha ihante kama bhogartham anya yenartha sanchayan. Being bound by hundreds and thousands of desires by lust and anger, they secure money by a legal means of sense gratification. Bhagavad Gita 16.4. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So one important point, Srila Prabhupada making here. Actually, it is illegal to work for one's own self-interest. Is both unlawful and destructive. So that's the thing. Even the cultivation of spiritual knowledge for one's own self-interest is unlawful and destructive. The point is that all activities must be directed to the satisfaction of Krishna and his service. All of our engages, all of our senses, all of our accumulations, it has to redirect to Krishna. It has to satisfy supreme will of the Lord, Krishna and his service. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. We read this one. Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, nectar of devotion. Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tatparetvena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. All of our senses engaging in the service of the Lord. Even though when we work outside, keeping Krishna in the mind, and we have to work. This is very important. For one's own self-interest is unlawful and destructive. What does it mean? Because there is no Krishna in it. Even one's self-interest means different yoga systems there. Dhyana, karma, ashtanga yoga. That is also personal motive. Some sense gratification also. Siddhis, they get siddhis. Ashtanga yoga, they get siddhis. Anima, lagima, yama, niyama, anima, lagima, prapti. Different siddhis. They get it. That is and Ashtanga yoga, Ashtanga and Ashtasiddhi, different two things. So when they perform Ashtanga yoga and Ashtasiddhi, they get it. That is what they wanted to use. They wanted to go different material planets They wanted to enjoy some sense gratification. That is also destructive. Prabhupada is pointing to. The self-interest is unlawful and destructive. From the highest executive in his skyscraper office down to the coolie in the street, what they are working for money, either legally or illegally. So it is illegal when we take, Krishna himself says actually, it is illegal and it's a sin without offering and without acknowledging how these material resources, how these things are happening. We have to understand from the Bhagavad Gita perspective, from Krishna's words. That is verse. There is one verse. Eat only sin. If they want to, they eat food without offering. They eat only sin. That is the state. That is the verse. The translation of that verse. They eat only sin. That applicable for all the things, accumulations. Our body also using for self-interest is destructive and unlawful. That is what Prabhupada's hard statement. Those who are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord wrongfully think that they are accumulating so much money day after day, and that way being bound by hundreds and thousands of desires, by lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. 16th chapter, 12th verse. Asha pasa sater baddha kama krodha parayana ihante kama bhogartham anyayenartha sanchayan. Directly from lotus mouth of Krishna. Illegal means. Yeah, that's why we have to earn in a honest means as a devotee, as practicing devotional life, and in a honest means. Yes, let us continue. Samyukta Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, please.
Yes, Prabhuji. Consequently, although there is no lack of money in the world, there is a scarcity of peace. So much human energy is being diverted to making money for the general population has increased its capacity to make more and more dollars. But in the long run, the result is that this unrestricted and unlawful monetary inflation has created a bad economy all over the world and has provoked us to manufacture huge and costly weapons to destroy the very result of such cheap money making. The leaders of the big money making countries are not really enjoying peace, but are making plans to save themselves from imminent destruction by nuclear weapons. In fact, huge sums of money are being thrown into the sea by way of experiments with these dreadful weapons. Such experiments are being carried out not only at huge cost, but also at the cost of many lives. In this way, the nations are being bound by the laws of karma. When men are motivated by the impulse for sense gratification, whatever money is earned is spoiled, being spent for the destruction of the human race. The energy of the human race is thus wasted by the laws of nature because of man's aversion to the Lord, who is actually the proprietor of all energies.
Continue, Mataji.
Wealth is worshipped and is referred to as Mother Lakshmi or the goddess of fortune. It is her position to serve Lord Narayana, the source of all the Naras or living beings. The Naras are also meant to serve Narayana under the guidance of the goddess of fortune. The living being cannot enjoy the goddess of fortune without serving Narayana, and therefore whoever desires to enjoy her wrongly will be punished by the laws of nature. These laws will make certain that the money itself will bring about destruction instead of peace and prosperity.
Yeah, continue. Yes.
Unlawfully accumulated money is now being snatched from miserly citizens by various methods of state taxation for the future civil and international war fund, which is spending money in a wasteful and destructive manner. The citizens are no longer satisfied with just enough money to maintain a family nicely and cultivate spiritual knowledge, both of which are essential in human life. Now everyone wants money unlimitedly to satisfy insatiable desires. In proportion to the people's unlawful desires, their accumulated money is taken away by the agents of lawyers, tax collectors, Prabhuji, by the agents of illusory energy into the shape of medical practitioners, lawyers, tax collectors, societies, constitutions, so-called holy men, famines, earthquakes, and many similar calamities. One miser who hesitated to purchase a copy of Back to Godhead spent $2,000 for a week's supply of medicine and then died. Another man who refused to spend a cent for the service of the Lord wasted thousands of dollars in a legal suit between the members of his home. There are innumerable similar instances occasioned by the dictation of illusory nature. Indeed, that is the law of nature. If money is not devoted to the service of the Lord, it must be spent as spoiled energy in the form of legal problems or diseases. Foolish people do not have the eyes to see such facts. Therefore, the laws of the Supreme Lord befool them.
Thank you. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So that's the hardest truth, If we utilize for the service of the Lord, either it's going through the diseases or illegal problems. Prabhupada quoted some examples. No, that's the thing. So better to use, as long as we earn some percentage of the money we accumulated, better to use in the service of the Lord. That's where I Vaishnava Acharya, our one of the 6 Goswami, Rupa Goswami. That's why we call Rupanuga. Most of the teachings we see in our ISKCON and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj. So we follow Rupa Goswami's teachings. He has written so many wonderful devotional literature, which he presented Radha Krishna very intimately, very closely. And so what he has given the principle of, utilizing the money. He himself showed an example actually, Rupa Goswami, and if you take $100, for example, $50 for the service of the Lord, $25 for the personal expenses, $25 for family and relatives, whatever. So that's the proper utilization of the money. Otherwise, in our life also, in my life, personal life also, I see, wasted some of the money, different ways. Later I realized why I couldn't utilize in the service of the Lord. Either way, it is lost. Either we use it for our own sense gratification or personal interest. That won't help us actually. That's where we have to utilize Lakshmi properly. Lakshmi sits at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Whatever we accumulated, utilize it for good. Of course, we have a family. We have to maintain our family. Responsibilities there. Yes. Krishna also doesn't say no and give everything. No. Of course, he said, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. If we complete surrender, we will take care of. But as we have to follow the Acharyas set forth the principles, how to utilize the money. So otherwise it won't give that, real peace and prosperity. And one more thing, if we use it for Krishna's service, Krishna is going to give more. Seriously, in devotee's life, we see Krishna is going to give more and more opportunity to earn, or more opportunity, more money you get. And by the way, reciprocation happens. If we give $10 to Krishna, he will give $100 of opportunities, for example. Krishna is going to help us in that way also. So let us utilize money properly, in our movement, especially Srila Prabhupada's one of the very much pleasing activities is to distribute his books. That's where in the December marathon, we distribute Bhagavad Gita, and in the Bhadra Purnima, we distribute Bhagavatams. So please help us, whatever best of your capacities. That way, we can serve and we can utilize our monies in the proper means. And every money we donate to temples using for Krishna's service. Every money, whatever different activities in the temples, right? Temple maintenance, deity dress maintenance, kitchen, Bhagavan, all the groceries, vegetables, everything for offering every day in temple 6 to 7 times bhoga offering, and most of the ISKCON temples before Arati. So it requires a lot of money actually, to maintain the temple. So whatever best of our capabilities, let us donate. That way, our money purified. Our money, by doing so, we get so much spiritual benefit because we are utilizing. See, it's everything in this material world. It's not made by our own efforts. We are completely depending upon Supreme Personality of God's energy. Material world also is energy. In the material world, all these elements, our body is made up of Pancha Mahabhuta and then 3 subtle elements. Who has given this? We didn't create our own bodies actually. Krishna has given this body. Right? We didn't plan, or we don't know actually how we come into this material world. In the mother womb, we don't know how we took the birth. Right? So everything, if you think analytically, analytical study, proper writes in this purports, we have to analytically check in this material world how I am situated, that way. So let us best regular donations, and that way we have to use money properly. So let us read from this. Yeah. Pallavi Mataji, would you like to read? Hare Krishna Mataji. Pallavi Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhuji. Actually, I'm Prabhuji. After maybe 10-15 minutes, I'll read Prabhuji.
Okay, sure. Sirisha Mataji. Hare Krishna. Sirisha Mataji. Okay. Sapan Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna. The laws of nature do not allow us to accept more money than is required for proper maintenance. There is ample arrangement by the law of nature to provide every living being with his due share of food and shelter. But the insatiable lust of human beings have disturbed the arrangement set forth by the Almighty Father of all species of life. By the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, there is an ocean of salt because salt is so necessary for the living being. God has in the same manner arranged for sufficient air and light, which are also essential. Anyone can collect any amount of salt from the natural storehouse, but constitutionally we cannot take more salt than what we need. If we take more salt, we spoil the broth, and if we take less salt, our food becomes tasteless. On the other hand, if we take only what we require, our food is tasty and we are healthy. Presently, there is a great deal of concern over the fact that our natural resources are becoming polluted and exhausted. Actually, there is ample supply, but due to misuse and greed, everything is being spoiled. What conservationists and ecologists do not understand is that everything will continue to be spoiled by the insatiable lust of mankind unless this Krishna consciousness process is taken up. It is impossible to have peace on any platform of existence without Krishna consciousness. Man is therefore suffering due to his insatiable desires and lust. Not only is man suffering, but the planet on which he resides, his mother earth, represented in Srimad Bhagavatam by Mother Cow, is also suffering. Once a well-known Swami in India was asked whether God or Providence is responsible for the suffering of humanity. The Swami replied that these sufferings were all God's pastimes or Leela. The questioner continued to ask why a living entity should be put under dictations of the law of karma. The Swami could not answer these questions to the satisfaction of the inquirers. The monist and impersonalists who think only in terms of the oneness of the living entities with Supreme Lord cannot give satisfactory answers to such questions. Such an imperfect reply can hardly satisfy the heart of a living entity. The Lord is described in all scriptures as Leela Purushottama, or the personality of Godhead, who by his own nature always engaged in transcendental pastimes. In the Vedanta Sutra, he is also described as Anandamayo Bhasya. The monoist and impersonalists try with great difficulty to explain this sutra in diverse ways in order to support their imperfect theory of oneness and impersonality. However, the fact remains that Ananda, pleasure, cannot be enjoyed alone. That variety is the mother of enjoyment is a well-known fact. Cities, for instance, are known to be attractive if they contain a variety of things. Living entities are naturally attracted by variety, by attractive streets, buildings, cinemas, parks, conveyances, buses, employments, foodstuffs, etc. Despite all this variety, the English poet Cooper once said, "The city is man made by man, but the country is made by God. The countryside is also full of natural variegatedness in crude form, whereas in the city, this variegatedness is displayed in modernized scientific manner. Poets like Cowper are attracted to the variegatedness of the country, and prosaic people who live in the city are attracted by the colorful varieties manufactured by man. In any case, it is variegatedness which attracts people both to country and city. This is the proper explanation of the verse of Vedanta Sutra. Many so-called Swamis who are so frequently attracted by the cities often seek a kind of pleasure in society and feminine friendship. Generally, they are not attracted by natural beauty of the woods, although they may assume the dress of a man who is meant to live in the woods. Such swamis seeking varieties of enjoyment in matter because they have no information of the variegatedness of the spiritual life. On the other hand, they enjoy variegatedness in matter, and on the other hand, they deny spiritual variegatedness to the absolute because they are pledged to the theory of monism and impersonalism. They deny that whatever pertains to matter can pertain to also to spirit. According to them, spirit is the denial of matter. The fact is, however, the spirit is not negation of matter, but matter is a perverted reflection of spirit. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. See, Vedanta Sutra, this one, Anandamaya Abhyasa. So, Ananda means pleasure, cannot be enjoyed alone, right? That variety is the mother of enjoyment is well-known fact. So that Anandamaya Abhyasa, our soul's innate nature is always become happy. That is nature actually, Anandamaya Abhyasa. I don't want to undergo various distresses. Distresses comes in the form of, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Distresses comes in the form of Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, Adidaivika. Miseries comes from one's own body and mind. Miseries comes from other living entities. Miseries come from natural disturbances. Adidaivika. So under the direction of demigods. So Anandamaya Abhyasa, that is Vedanta Sutra. How can we understand Anandamaya Abhyasa? Our soul's innate nature is to become happy always, eternally. Because we are due to in the conditioned state, we won't get that happiness, flickering happiness. That's where that's on the soul platform. If we work, then we can able to experience that real happiness or eternal happiness. And this pleasure cannot be enjoyed alone, right? How can we understand? So, right? So see, this was I have heard in previous lectures. Assume this, there is a planet created for yourselves, for ourselves. Nobody is there, only yourself there. You cannot stay because you need reciprocation. Somebody needs to be there, Anything, two things are needed, in our occasion, right? It can be experienced, pleasure also cannot be enjoyed alone. When we serve, Supreme Lord is pleased, we also become pleased. We get the real happiness. Krishna also loves us. Yesterday, in India and in the entire world, actually, they celebrated Valentine's Day. Right? What is that purpose? What a Valentine's Day is some mostly concocted and material way of understanding, and they celebrate. But as a devotees of Krishna, I got one poster, fall in love with Krishna. Very true, yes. We have to fall in love with Krishna and Radharani, our eternal father and mother. So Krishna, if we fall in love with Krishna, that is the greatest thing. And it can be achievable in this lifetime also. How? By chanting Hare Krishna mantra, seriously. All the acharyas shown an example in their lives. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is so powerful. We can get that association with Krishna and we get the real happiness. All the eternality we can achieve. So that's where Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. All the pure devotees' consciousness is Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridhavrata. Fixed determination. They perform bhakti. Without any interruption, unmotivated, uninterrupted, no motivations, no selfish desires, only desire to serve Supreme Lord. That is the thing. So all those concepts, opposite is material world, selfishness, working on the bodily platform. How can we get the real happiness, right? So this Anandamaya is about innate nature. Soul's innate nature is the Lord is described in all scriptures as Lila Purushottama, and then Prabhupada quoted the personality of God, who is by his own nature always engaged the transcendental past tense. In the Vedanta Sutra, he is also described Anandamayo Bhyasat. So in his creation, Golok Vrindavan is the topmost. In his expansions, is doing all the material creation, different departmental functions. But as Krishna situated in the Golok Vrindavan, he always, playing with gopas, gopis, cows, different exchanges, loving exchanges, always blissful, always. See, our soul, our innate nature, what is the soul's body? How soul's body is made up of? Anybody?
Sachidananda Vigraha.
Sachidananda Vigraha. Sat means eternal, Chit means knowledgeable, and Ananda means pleasure, blissful nature. That's where the spiritual things gives real happiness. If we understand, if we introspect, what kind of happiness I'm getting. Is it real happiness? When we do Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna mantra with full attention and focus, we get some happiness. That is a real happiness actually. Because that is the topmost thing. Any other means which cannot match to that process of Bhakti Yoga. Right? So let us go through it. So impersonalism and monism, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Prabhupada, we recite this prayer of Prabhupada Pranati. Right? Namama Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharini, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Impersonalist and monist. God is light, God is no, God is just nothing, Shunya. God is impersonal. He has created everything. There is no form of the God. What are the concepts, monist and impersonal philosophy? Prabhupada, Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj also puffed up left and right. Manojacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarkar Swami, Vishnu Swami, all the four paramparas. Sri Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, and what are the other two? Sri Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, then what is that? Ramanujacharya, Sri Sampradaya. What Mataji?
Rudra Sampradaya and Nimbarka Sampradaya.
Nimbarkar Swami.
Kumar Sampradaya.
Vishnu Swami. And Madhvacharya, Brahma. Right? Yes. So I forgot suddenly. Can you repeat, Mataji? What are the four? Sri Sampradayam, Kumara Sampradaya,
Ramanujacharya, Madhva Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya, Madhvacharya, Rudra Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami, and Nimbarka Kumara Sampradaya, Nimbarkacharya.
Tell me again. First is Sri Sampradayam, okay. Kumar Sampradayam, okay. Rudra Sampradayam, okay. What is the other one?
Brahma Sampradaya.
Brahma. Coming from Brahma, yes. I forgot, of the mind. Yes, that's the thing. All the four sampradayas confirmed. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudeva, son of Vasudeva. They confirmed, that's it. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Bhagavatam says, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Who is that Bhagavan? Who possesses all six opulences. What are the six opulences? We all know. Wealth, beauty, renunciation, knowledge, strength, fame. What's the thing? It's a complete understanding. Actually, these are all spiritual concepts which helps us to meditate upon Supreme Lord so nicely. That's why Prabhupada written all these books for our understanding and perform bhakti so nicely. Let us continue. Okay. So now, please continue.
The real pleasure of variety exists in spirit without deluding relativity. On the other hand, inert matter in association with dynamic spirit manifests a false representation or a perverted reflection of that very spiritual variegatedness, which is so adamantly denied by the monist class of so-called swamis. As stated before, the Supreme Lord is Sachitananda Vigraha, joyful by nature, and therefore he expands himself by his different energies, parts, and differentiated and plenary portions. The Supreme Lord is the absolute truth, and he is one without a second, but he also includes his diverse energies, parts, and plenary portions, which are simultaneously one with and different from him, because he is joyful by nature. He expands himself in diverse ways, and the activities of these expansions are called his transcendental pastimes or his Leela. These pastimes, however, are not blind and inert. They exhibit full sense, independence, and freedom of action and reaction. The complexities of the actions and the reactions of the diverse energies of the absolute truth constitute the subject matter of a vast science called the transcendental science of God. And the Bhagavad Gita is the ABC or primary book of knowledge for students interested in that science. Every intelligent human being should become interested in this transcendental science. Indeed, according to the opinions of the sages, human life is only meant for learning this science. The opening words of the Vedanta Sutra proclaim, now is the time to inquire about Brahman. Human life by
That's fair. Yeah, just to add, Mataji, now is the time to inquire about Brahman. Brahman is nothing but Supreme Lord. You inquire about Supreme Lord. So what is that? Athato Brahma Jigyasa. That is another Vedanta Sutra. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Human life is meant for not sense gratification. It's for self-realization. Yes. Continue, Mataji.
Human life by nature is full of suffering, and lower life forms are even more miserable. Any sane man with properly discriminating senses can understand that life in the material world is full of miseries and that no one is free from the actions and reactions of such miseries. This is not a pessimistic view of life, but is an actual fact which we should not be blind to. The miseries of life are divided into three categories, namely miseries arising from the body and mind, miseries arising from other living entities, and miseries arising due to natural calamities. A sane man must look to eliminate these miseries and thereby become happy in life. We are all trying to achieve peace and freedom from these miseries, at least unconsciously, and in the higher intellectual circles, there are attempts to get rid of these miseries by ingenious plans and designs. But the power that baffles all the plans and designs of even the most intelligent person is the power of Maya Devi, or the illusory energy. The law of karma, or the result of all actions and reactions in the material world, is controlled by this all powerful illusory energy. The activities of this energy function according to principles and regulations, and they act consciously under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Everything is done by the nature in full consciousness. Nothing is blind or accidental. This material energy is also called Durga, which indicates that it is a force which is very difficult to surpass. No one can surpass the laws of Durga by any amount of childish plans.
You can
Get
continue,
rid-
but just to add. So Durga means, the meaning of Durga is which is very difficult to surpass. Durga, Maya Devi. So illusory energy of Supreme Lord only, under the direction of the Supreme Lord. One verse from Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dhyakshena Prakrute Suyate Sucharacharam. He has created, but he has given the departmental job to Durga Devi, or Maya Devi. That's the thing. So continue, Mataji. Yeah.
ఇక్కడ మాయాదేవి దుర్గాదేవి అని సినానిమ్స్ లాగా వాడారు మీరు. రెండు వేరా ఒకటేనా?
వేరేం కాదు, సేమ్.
మాయాదేవి అండ్ దుర్గాదేవి ఆర్ సేమ్ అకార్డింగ్.
This material world, and she is running. Yes, Mataji. Durga means properly, which is very difficult to surpass. Maya Shakti. Yes, Durga Devi. Multiple names. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, continue, Mataji. You can read. To get rid of the sufferings.
To get rid of the sufferings of humanity is simultaneously a very difficult and also a very easy affair. As long as the conditioned souls, who are themselves bound up by the laws of nature, manufacture plans to get rid of the three miseries, there will be no solution. The only effective solutions are those mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, and we have to adopt them in our practical lives for our own benefit. The three miseries of material nature are not found in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. As mentioned before, he is eternally joyful, and his transcendental pastimes are not different from him because he is the absolute truth. His name, fame, form, qualities, and pastimes are all identical with him. His pastimes, therefore, cannot be equated with the sufferings of humanity as the so-called Swami contends. The pastimes of the Supreme Lord are transcendental to the actual miseries and sufferings of human beings. The sufferings of humanity are caused by the misuse of the discriminative power or the little independence which is given to individual souls. The fraudulent swamis or mental speculators, in order to remain consistent with the theory of monism, must pass off these miseries of mankind as the pastimes of God. But actually, these miseries are only the enforced punishments of Maya Devi inflicted upon the misguided conditioned souls. Continue, Jayamanta Prabhuji, aap mantar.
One more prayer, Sadan.
As living entities, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Indeed, we actually belong to his superior energy. As such, we may join his transcendental pastimes in our unconditioned state of life. But as long as we are conditioned by the laws of karma, in contact with the inferior energy, our sufferings are our own creations, born of a gross misuse of our little independence. The impersonalist monists only misguide people by contending that the threefold miseries are a part of Lord's pastimes. Such impersonalists and monists have misguided their followers because they incorrectly think that the Supreme Lord and the individual souls are equal in all respects. True, the individual souls are equal in quality with the Supreme Lord, but not in quantity. If the individual soul were quantitatively equal to the Supreme Lord, he would have never been subjected to the laws of material nature. Material nature is subordinate to the will of the Supreme Lord, and therefore he cannot be subjected to the laws of material nature. It is contradictory for the Lord to be subjected to the laws of his own inferior energy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Few points while reading through this one. Actually, this title itself, hard struggle for happiness. Prabhupada is writing, so nicely. There is one thing. So, this one. These miseries are only the enforced punishments of Maya Devi inflicted upon the misguided conditioned souls. Unless we come to the platform of proper system of understanding, we are misguided actually. We are misguided conditioned souls. Maya Devi inflicted all these problems, all these miseries, enforced punishments. But when we surrender to Krishna, Krishna said, this is Krishna's word, this verse. Daivi esha gunamai mama maya duratyaya. Mama maya duratyaya. But there is one good quality. Mam yevaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Whoever surrenders to me, Maya won't touch. So they already given the solution there also. How can we how can be a person situated on the transcendental platform? Daivi esha gunamai mama maya duratyaya. Mam evaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. It's very difficult to cross this material nature. Conditioned state is very difficult to achieve from condition to liberated state. But how can we do that? We have to situate it on the devotional platform. Surrender to Supreme Lord. Mam yeve prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Daiviye shagunamai mama maya duratye mam evaye prapadyante. Surrender to me. Mam yeve prapadyante. Take shelter of me. Then you can easily cross over. And one more verse. Mam cheva bicharena bhakti yogena seva. Through bhakti yoga, Mam cheva bicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati tetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Actually, material creation talks about these three modes: mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness. The three gunas, trigunatmaka creation. All the planets, all the material creation made up with these gunas, three gunas: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. So that's where conditioned. That's where this karma, that's where this everything, different bodies taken place according to one's own desire, under the modes of material nature. So how can we cross over? How can we situate it? How can we beyond the situated the modes of material nature? That's why it's called, there is pure goodness is there. Beyond the goodness, there is a pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva. That is Bhakti Yoga. Mamcheva Vicharana Bhakti Yogena Sevate. Bhakti Yoga. If you take up the Bhakti Yoga process, we rightly situated beyond the three modes. So that's the thing. Why are they inflicted for misguided conditioned souls? So we need a guidance from the authorities, from the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. And one more thing, in the karma, by the loss of the karma, but as long as we are conditioned by the loss of karma in contact with the inferior energy, our sufferings are our own creations, born of gross misuse of our little independence. We have minute little independence. Actually, give me 1 minute. Let me put the battery in laptop. Just a second. Yeah. So we are actually having a minute little independence. So that's where how we come to the material world. Misusing of our little independence, free will. So the impulsist monist only misguide people by contending that the threefold miseries are part of the Lord's pastime. Such impulsists and monists have misguided their followers because they incorrectly think that the Supreme Lord and the individual souls are equal in all respects. That is a problem, monist theory, God equal. God is also just like us. So incorrect understanding, okay? So there is one word, many times I quote Sanskrit word, Asamaudva. Nobody is equal and nobody is greater than him. His position is, that's it. Krishna's position is Asamaudva. Nobody is equal, nobody is greater than him. Period. You just have to understand. The individual souls are equal in quality with the Supreme Lord, but not in quantity. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. We are qualitatively one and quantitatively different. How can we understand? Krishna situated as a super soul in all of the beings. Chara Chara. Right? Quantitatively is expanded. Qualitatively as a super soul situated within us. Super soul is situated within us. So that means we can understand quality. Whatever the qualities Krishna is, we have that. Sachidananda Vigraha. Basically, Sachidananda Vigraha. See, what is the soul's property? Soul's body made up of Sachidananda Vigraha. Krishna's body also Sachidananda Vigraha. But he is a gigantic form. He expanded all the universe as a super soul. But we are minute too. We know, that's where we know up to our body level. We cannot know other persons what they are thinking, but Krishna knows because he is situated in all the beings present. Trikalagnya. That is the qualitatively one, Sachidananda Vigraha. Quantitatively, we are different from Krishna. It's called Sachintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. This is established by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a proper understanding of the concept. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Yes. It is wonderful verse. Let us start with us. Sunil Prabhu, still the Hare Krishna? You want to read, please? Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah. Nandal, yes.
Yes, sir. Matha para taram nanyat kinchad asti dhananjaya mai sarvam adam protam sutre mani gana eva. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Gita 7.7. Again, Sri Krishna states, Pribhir guna mayar bhaver Ibhe sarvam idam jagat mohitam nabhi jananti mam ebhae param avyayam.
Your voice breaking little, I don't know, for me.
Who am above Gita 7.2.
Everybody is hearing clearly Prabhuji's voice?
No, Prabhuji.
Not able to hear?
Prabhuji.
Now, okay, Prabhu. Yes, now you can
Able
read it.
to,
Okay. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above them and inexhaustible. Bhagavad Gita 7.13.
Yeah, current. So you can continue, but let me add, Prabhu, one thing. So deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, that's where, this conditioned soul, they won't approach Krishna, they won't come to the surrender to the Supreme Lord. Because deluded energy of these three modes, the whole world does not know me, who am above them and inexhaustible. Krishna himself saying, only very fortunate people, Bahunam Janmanamante, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate, Vasudevam Sarvamiti, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Yes, read, Prabhu. Yeah, Sunil, Prabhu.
Anji, Anji. The individual souls who are put into the miseries of the material world are suffering the resultant reaction of their unsanctioned activities. This is the verdict of Bhagavad Gita. Tan aham dvistatahat karunan samseresu nararaman kripami shipami ajasram asubhan asurisva eva yoniso. Envious, mischievous, the lowest of mankind, these do I ever put back into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. Bhagavad Gita 16.19.
Krishna says that. Envious, mischievous, lowest of mankind, these do I ever put back into the ocean of mental existence. So into various demoniac pieces of life. Yeah. Continue, Prabhuji.
The parts and parcels are meant to serve the whole, and when they misuse their independence, they are subject to the miseries of laws of matter. Just as criminals are subject to police station, the state considers its citizens to be its parts and parcels, and when a citizen misuses his relative independence, the state puts him under police authority. The life of a citizen outside the prison and the life of a citizen within the prison are not the same. Similarly, the sufferings of the living entities within the prison of material nature cannot be equated with the pastimes of Supreme Lord, which exist in the absolute freedom of Satchitanand. No government wants its citizens to act in such a way that they must go to prison and suffer tribulations. The prison house is undoubtedly constructed by the state government, but this does not mean that the government is anxious for its citizens to be put into it. Indirectly, the disobedient citizens force the government to construct the prison house. It is not done for the pleasure of the government, which has to spend a great deal of money in constructing and maintaining it. On the contrary, the government would be very glad to demolish prisons altogether, provided that there are no disobedient citizens in the state. In the same way, this material world is created by the Supreme Lord, but the Supreme Lord does not will that living entities be put in it. The living entities themselves make that decision.
Wonderful statement, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
See, Krishna has created this material world based upon our desires, See, a nice example, Srila Prabhupada has given. Indirectly, the disobedient citizens force the government to construct the prison house because they disobey the laws of government. It is not done for the pleasure of government. Government don't want to do actually, but these things, they force government created the prison house because some mischievous people, disobedient citizens, which has to spend a great deal of money in constructing and maintaining. On the contrary, the government would be very glad to demolish prisons altogether, provided that there are no disobedient citizens in the state. But that's not happening. It won't be. Every state, every country, this prison house is there. Because, that's where material world is also like that. Is a prison house. Krishna has created all these, mischievous souls forced Krishna to create this material nature. Otherwise, what is the point? What is the super understanding? I love the Srila Prabhupada. In the same way, this material world is created by the Supreme Lord, but the Supreme Lord does not will that living entities be put in it and suffering. You don't want it. Just like government things, the living entities themselves make that decision. That means our own, basically this is the understanding. We wanted to enjoy like Krishna. Krishna, these three things, we always say that. Enjoymentship, enjoy, I am the enjoyer, I am the proprietor, and I am the controllership. Just like Supreme Lord Krishna. But that they're not place. Everybody is servants there. That's why he created this material world. Go and enjoy and suffer, and you experience it. Just like prison house. So nice, actually. This is very touched today for my understanding. Yeah, Krishna. See, he put in. Actually, always anxious to when these souls coming back to me and serve and live happily with me. He always looks for us, Krishna. Government also feels that, right? Government also need peaceful government, peaceful, state for everybody's happiness. The spiritual world also, Krishna is waiting for us, actually. When these souls turns to me and serve me and, again, come back to me, he's looking for us, actually. He's waiting for us. We are fortunate, take up the Bhakti Yoga process seriously, sincerely. Definitely Krishna is going to help us and take back to her.
Yeah, these are so beautiful analogies, Prabhuji. In the simplest form, he tries to understand us. He makes us understand. He tries to make us understand. That's the greatness of these books, I feel. Complicated, very simply, he tries to understand us. Make us understand.
Thinking, mother, you see, our Westerners are so intelligent, how he went to US and started and giving this proper knowledge in the all these great authorities, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, all the Westerners turned into wonderful devotees because Srila Prabhupada is a great devotee of Supreme Lord and situated in the proper Guru weekly succession, proper understandings of the Vedas. That way, whoever open-minded and try to learn, they are, that's it. They become devotees. They became devotees. Now we see how the ISKCON is expanded with their seriousness serving Srila Prabhupada. They surrendered. That's the thing. They surrendered. That's where this movement is expanded. Now, so many temples, so many communities, so many devotees. Wherever we go, wherever we any part of the world, we definitely find devotees. The Srila Prabhupada mercy.
Yeah, as you said on the other day, Prabhuji, I think I heard from you only. He survived 2 heart attacks when he was coming to US. While coming from India to US, he survived 2 heart attacks. And like that, I think he has been sent for this mission only, I guess.
Krishna's perfect intervention. Krishna wanted to expand and give you this knowledge through him. That's why the Senapati Bhakta, it's called. Senapati Bhakta, commander-in-chief to deliver the fallen souls. Seriously, Mata, I'm so nice. How wonderfully Srila Prabhupada explaining with giving real-time examples we see in the material world.
Yeah, that's what Prabhuji. Before coming to this sessions and before hearing all this, I was wondering, like in any ISKCON, if I go, why do these people worship the disciples so much? First, anywhere we find the Srila Prabhupada statue, and they worship him first, right? So I would wonder. Now I understand that slowly. I'm understanding why is it.
Yeah, great Acharya Mata. You just have to sincerely read and understand and apply it. How to apply? Regularly chanting, hearing, Shravanam Kirtanam. That will help us. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for your realizations. Now let us continue. The residents of this material are therefore different from those who are eternally engaged in the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Now let us continue. Sirisha Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Please read.
అదే ఇది వరకు అసలు డివోటీస్ ఎక్కడ కనిపించకపోయేవాళ్ళు ప్రభుజీ, బయటికి వెళ్తే కూడా. ఇప్పుడు అసలు ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళినా చాలా మంది కనిపిస్తున్నారు.
సంతోషమే కదా.
చాలా అసలు ఊర్లలో కూడా ప్రభుజీ అసలు.
హరే కృష్ణ ప్రభుజీ, ఎంత బాగుంది
ప్రభుజీ. ఇది ఊర్లలో కూడా నేను కూడా ఒప్పుకుంటాను. మా రిలేటివ్స్ లోనే చూస్తున్నాను నేను అసలు చాలా మంది
గ్రూప్స్ ఫామ్ చేసి ఇస్కాన్ ఫాలోవర్స్ ని.
అంతే కృష్ణుడు చేస్తున్నాడు ఇదంతా. ఓకే, త్రూ ది వేరియస్ డివోటీస్. If we are become part of it, we are very fortunate. We just take it that way in a positive frame
సీ
of
ద
mind.
ఫాలోవర్స్ అసలు ఆ వచ్చే ఆనందం అది తెలియదు కానీ we feel so happy like.
తిలకం పెట్టుకొని మంచిగా హరే కృష్ణ ప్రభు, హరే కృష్ణ ప్రభుజీ, హరే కృష్ణ మాతాజీ.
వాళ్ళ
That's-
దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి మాట్లాడమే ప్రభుజీ, వాళ్ళ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళిపోయి, లేకపోతే వాళ్ళు చూస్తే వాళ్ళన్న దగ్గరికి వచ్చి మాట్లాడడం.
See, that's the beauty, right? Devotional life, how beauty. వాళ్ళు ఎవరో తెలియదు.
తెలియదు,
We don't know.
బట్ కృష్ణ విల్ కనెక్టింగ్ టు ఈచ్ అదర్ ప్రభుజీ.
Krishna is kind of super soul. That's the beauty of the devotional life. We are all eternal beings. We are all eternal beings created by him. Mamai Vamsho Jivaloke
జీవభూత సనాతన మనశ్శష్టానింద్రియాణి
Sanatana. We are all eternal beings. Prakriti Sthani
ప్రకృతి
Karshati.
స్థానికరిష్ట.
That's the thing. So yeah, that's the beauty of devotional life. We don't know whoever that person. If we say Hare Krishna, you say Hare Krishna, we will talk and which connected, which temple you are connected, how are you, all the things, where is the temple, these things, all the devotional talk.
How you come to Krishna consciousness, first the main thing.
Yes,
And the ways to
wonderful.
follow.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Swapna Mataji, tell me. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, actually, I am into a teaching profession. In my school also, there are so many, one Mataji and two Prabhujis. They join, and when they are not satisfied, like, they as you explained in the last week, whichever profession you are, you should see for the benefit of others, which Krishna likes. So, it was Karthik Prabhuji. He left the school. I just spoke to him last week. Then he was telling, being a devotee, what I want to do, I will do it, Mataji. I cannot go with the school rules. As I am not dependent, Krishna will give me bread and butter wherever I am. That was actually very inspiring, Prabhuji. Anta guts undali cheyadaniki. He just finished his IIT and he's very young boy. He's living with all devotees only. Edo Prabhuji దగ్గర ఉంటున్నారు, but ఆయన guts, he's so sticking and attached to the scriptures. In the class also, he always says, God will not bless you if you're not doing the hard work. Just you want marks, don't run behind the marks. Why are you learning all this? He will explain everything related to scriptures only, Prabhuji. Ante inka adi unknowingly he will get connected and teach that. So
Very
that
nice.
was not accepted in our school. Then he said, I will leave. I will not do that. ఆ స్టేక్ అందరు తీసుకోలేరు ప్రభుజీ, because we are dependent కాబట్టి. He was into 9th and 10th grade. He joined Sri Chaitanya, where they are ready. అదే లోకల్లో చాలా ఉన్నాయి. ఎలా ఉంది మాతాజీ, నాకు ఎట్లాగైనా బ్రెడ్ అండ్ బటర్ దొరుకుతుంది, ఇస్కాన్ టెంపుల్ పోయినా పెడతారు. అసలు ఆ ధైర్యం ఎవరు ఇవ్వరు కదా ప్రభుజీ. That is, a main family than an extended family. It has become a main family.
So Mataji, Prabhuji's firm conviction and faith in the Supreme Lord, he is going to take care of me in every situation. A lot of practice, a lot of undergoing through all the scriptures and practicing nicely. That way he got that confidence in the Supreme Lord, and that's it. That's taking him to, and Krishna provides different opportunities. If you are in that path, see, that's where devotees won't worry about material tribulations. They accept so easily. Yeah. So thank you, Mataji.
He was telling Prabhuji, how did you do this? How did you take a step of leaving the institution? He said, Mataji, my conscience will not accept. That is, Krishna is not accepting. So I will not do that. I am single still. I am living with devotees. If I'm not having job for a while also, they will feed me. ఇట్ ఈస్ అంత కళ్ళు తెచ్చుకున్నాయి ప్రభుజీ. మా డాటర్ కి కూడా టీచ్ చేస్తారు తను. ఐ కెనాట్ డూ విత్ యశికా ప్రభుజీ అంటే, అట్ అ పాయింట్ యూ విల్ ఆల్సో డూ మాతాజీ, డోంట్ వరీ, కృష్ణ విల్ గివ్ యూ దట్.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah, devotees are always positive frame out. They take it, positively, everything. Only with Krishna's mercy and Guru's blessings. Yeah. Let us continue. Mother Shirisha Mata, we
Next,
continue.
yeah.
We have only
Yes.
2 pages. Let us complete this
Yes,
chapter today.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Continue.
The impersonal monists have no information of full-fledged independent life in the eternal spiritual realm. According to them, the spiritual realm is simply void. This is like prisoners thinking that there is no life outside the prison. Life outside of a prison is certainly free from prison activities, but it is not devoid of activity. The soul is by nature eternally active, but the impersonalists try to negate the activities of the soul in the spiritual realm. Thus, they understand the miseries of prison life to be the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. This is due to their poor fund of knowledge. The Supreme Lord never creates the action and reactions of an individual soul. In Bhagavad Gita, this is matter is clearly defined in the following way. Nakartratvam nakartratvam nakarmani lokasya srijati prabhu nakarma phala samyogam swabhavastu paravartate nadate kasyachit papam nachaiva sukritam vibhu ajanani navar agnane vritam gnanam tena muyanti gnatva.
Jantava. Mother, this is a beautiful verse. I'll do once and you can
Okay,
do like easy. Nakartrutvam na karmani lokasya srujati prabhu nakarma phala samyogam swabhavastu pravartate nadatte kaschit papam nachaiva sukrutam vibhu ajnanena avrutam jnanam tena muhyanti jantava. Can you try one more time?
Yes, Prabhuji. Nakartavyam nakarmani lokasya srajete prabhu nakarma phala samyogam swabhavastu pravartate nadate kaschit papam nachaiva sukrutam vibhu agnanena vritam gnanam tena muyanti gnatva.
Jantava. Yeah.
The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature, nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. Bhagavad Gita 5.14-15.
One point I wanted to make, Mataji. So, see, very nicely explained by Krishna. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. Then who is creating? Who are the creators? All these actions and creation. All this is enacted by the 3 modes of material nature. How
Voice is not clear, Prabhuji.
Situated in the modes. That's where if we take modes, that's Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Now it is coming.
Hare Krishna. Sorry. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Suddenly my internet, I don't know, feeble. So now you're able to see, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you can continue, Mother, from this.
Yes, Prabhuji. It is
Yes,
clear
please.
from these passages that the sufferings of humanity are not to be equated with the pastimes of the Supreme Being, nor is the Supreme Being responsible for them. The Lord is never responsible for anyone's vices or virtues. By victious actions, we are put into more and more distressful conditions. Whereas by pious actions, we place ourselves on the path of happiness. Thus, man in the architect, architect,
Architect.
architect of his own material distress or happiness. The Lord does not want the living entity to become entangled in the reactions of activities, be they
Yeah.
good or bad. He simply wants everyone to go back home, back to Godhead. As long as we are not awakened to our pure eternal relation with God, we are certainly bewildered in our actions. Our actions in respect to right and wrong are all performed on the platform of ignorance. We must rise to the platform of pure knowledge.
Yes, Mata. You last paragraph say Mata Swapna Mata also she can read. So that everybody read some. No? Thank you
Yes,
very much.
Prabhu.
1 second, Mother. Before that, the Lord does not want living in to become entangled. No, He created for we have desire just like Krishna to enjoy life. That's why He created this material world and put all of us into this material pool. But Krishna doesn't want that. Lord does not want the living entity to become entangled in the reactions of activities, be they good or bad. He simply wants everyone to go back home, back to Godhead. He always looking for it. As long as we are not awakened to our pure eternal relationship with God, we are certainly bewildered in our actions. Our actions in respect to right or wrong are all performed on the platform of ignorance. We have to rise above these three modes, from ignorance to passion to goodness to and Shuddha Sattva platform, pure goodness. Yeah, that's where the Prabhupada writes. So you can continue, Swapna Mataji. He must rise to the platform of, yeah. Swapna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, yeah. Continue,
Let
Mataji.
me- Yes. We must raise to the platform of pure knowledge, which is pure realization that we are the eternal servitors of the Supreme Lord and enjoyers of his transcendental pastimes. The Supreme Lord is the master enjoyer of those pastimes, and we are the servitor enjoyers. Transcendental knowledge is the only attainable by transcendental devotional service as described in Bhagavad Gita. Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyo yogam tam yena mam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship with worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. By rendering such devotional service only and not by merely acquiring a bulk of discriminative knowledge can we know the Supreme Lord as he is. When we know the personality of Godhead in reality, we can then enter into his pastimes. That is the verdict of all the revealed scriptures. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. That's done. Second chapter, hard elevation to Krishna consciousness book. So hard struggle for happiness. The second chapter is done. So we'll connect on Friday, continue from this chapter toward a peaceful society. And he ended with this chapter, hard struggle. Wonderful verse. This is one of my favorite verse. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogantam yenamam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. We just have to serve Supreme Lord with love and devotion constantly. Satatam, always. By rendering such devotional service only and not by merely acquiring a bulk of discriminating knowledge, we know the Supreme Lord as is. When we know the personality of God in reality, we can then enter into his pastime. That is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. We have to constantly put effort. Always think about Krishna, never forgets. In all of our spheres, in all of our activities, in daily life. It can possible. Prabhupada himself shown an example. Right? So, wonderful teachings. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you all in the reading Srila Prabhupada books. So let us continue on Friday with the third chapter. Please join regularly. Thank you so much. Sapan Prabhu, Pallavi Mataji, Sirisha Mataji, Swapna Mataji, Samyukta Mataji, Vanilla Mataji, Sunil Prabhu. Thank you so much. Maybe they left, because they have some other work. Middle of thank you so much again. Panchakalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Nitai Gaur Hari Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Have
Krishna.
a Krishna conscious.